My name is John Simanella. I entered the service in March of 1942.
Were you drafted?
No, I wasn't drafted. I enlisted for the Air Force.
How old were you?
Actually, I enlisted for the Navy V5 program.
What was that?
I was accepted, and I went to St. Louis, Missouri. And I got to St. Louis. President Roosevelt declared no more enlistments for the Navy. And I said, what the heck with you? I'm going to the Air Force. And they accepted me right away.
Okay. And where did you go for training?
I went for, well, the first stop I had was at Scott Field in Belleville, Illinois. And that was just for, I guess, for examinations and see. Then from there I went to Wright-Patterson Field and outside of Dayton, Ohio. And that's where there, and from that point on, I went through all of the different things, starting out with basics with the Air Force and going all the way through to where I was washed out. Yeah.
You were washed out to become a pilot?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what was the reason you were washed out?
Eyes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, stigmatism and something else. So they're very strict.
Sure. And so what did the Army, this was the Army Air Corps, I guess it was.
At that time, it was the Army Air Corps.
Right.
Yeah.
And in their infinite wisdom, what did they decide to place you? Where did they decide to place you?
Well, I had an IQ of 135, which was pretty high.
Oh.
And so they put me on a crew that I would, and also trained because I on a bomber crew that and they also had me go to a photography school because we were going to be a lead crew, and was my job to verify our bomb, how we did on the mission with an 8mm cannon. I had to open the back end of the B-24 hatch that we used to get in and out, and lay on my belly and take an 8mm camera, and I'd verify it, the run as we go into the dropping the bombs. Yeah.
Wow. So after your training in the States, where did you go to next?
After training in the States, from there, we jumped on a plane, and we were going to Labrador on the way to England. And well, the co-pilot was same as Springfield, Illinois, also. So he said, John, we're gonna take a little bus Springfield, Illinois, and then go on to our stop. So we went by, and as we went the buses to where I lived in Springfield, near Concordia College, meanwhile I had improvised a little with a handkerchief and some cord, and I improvised, put it on the end of a 50mm shell, and and a note to my mom that I'm on my way to Europe. I dropped in the field and it was found. And somehow the other day, I guess the newspaper heard about it. From that point on, was Labrador. Then from Labrador, we flew over Greenland to Iceland. Now, you know, we flew over Greenland, and there was a sheet of ice. Went to Iceland, and it was beautiful. You know, I said, man, somebody made a mistake. The misnomer on the countries by what it was because of the volcano in Iceland, that it was green.
So what happened once you reached England? Did you go through
Well,
additional training?
No, once we hit England, I was only there for one day, and then we went to Ireland, and we spent about, I would say, 2 months training in Belfast, Ireland. Then we went to England, 389th Bomb Group, and that's where I flew all my missions out of there.
Where was that in England?
Well, that was about 40 miles from London, down there in the near the Channel.
What went through your mind when you were assigned your first mission?
Well, the first thing you remember as you're getting ready to go is that you wake you up at 3:30 in the morning, and you go eat breakfast. Then whatever church denomination you belong to, you go there and get your blessing, and then you go to operations, find out where you're going. And I'll never forget, now as you walk into the room, the target was covered with a sheet, and when you got in, and the colonel said, I'll never forget what he said. He said, I hope you guys went your different church denominations. Only 5 of you will come back.
5 out of
5 airplanes out of 25.
Really? He expected
Yeah,
there
we
to
were
be...
going to the Ruhr Valley. The Ruhr Valley, when we pulled that sheet back and saw the Ruhr Valley, man, everybody turned white, because the Ruhr Valley, it's where the ball bearings workers was for the Germans, and all kinds of industry in there. And they had 280 88-millimeter cannons. And boy, as we were approaching the target, all hell broke loose. I mean, we were in the squadron underneath on the third portion of the flight, lower left section, and I had a kid who happened to be from Cleveland. Clarence Metcalf was his name, and he told me that he was an atheist. And I told him, well, you better get all you can out of this life. I don't think you're going to like the next place. So as we were approaching the target, and we could see the flak was so thick you can get out and walk on it. and you could see planes going down and all hell breaking loose. And he says, "Oh my God." I said, "Hey, I thought you were an atheist." There was no atheists in the war.
Were you afraid? Or did you have, were you too
Well,
busy
it
to
was,
be
it
afraid?
was, at first it was like an adventure. You weren't really scared, you were nervous, and you had trepidation about staying alive and hope that you were one of the 5 coming back. But yeah, you know, after 10 missions, they would, when I first got over there, and we got in the chow line, and you see guys, and they look like zombies. They had that look, you know. It was scared. And that's why every 10 missions, they would pull you out and send you to Scotland to relax, regain your composure, and you know, and kind of alleviate the fear. But yeah, we were all afraid of our lives, you know, and we just prayed a lot and put our hands in the hands of the good Lord.
Now, you mentioned you flew B-24s, I believe it was.
B-24s.
And that part of your job was to take photographs of the
That's
bombing
correct.
But were you not also a waist gunner?
I was also left, yes, I would take, before we hit the target, I would man the gun on the left side, which was the most dangerous side. But that was my assignment.
Why is that the most dangerous?
Because it's the way that usually the fighters come in from that direction. I don't know why, but that's the way it was. And we lost more left side waist gunners than any other portion of the plane.
Wow. Do you remember if you shot down any of the German fighters?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, we saw smoke coming out of the plane, you know, but you just open fire on them, and they're going 300 miles an hour. You know, that's, you know, you would try to find a couple of rad lead on them, and but it wasn't that you were more or less. They would come at you, and they would play chicken. They would fight straight at you, and if anybody lost their nerve and veered off a little bit, they'd wheel around and they'd shoot you down. So the pilots were told, when those guys come straight at you, just close your eyes. They're not kamikaze like the Japs. They want to live too, but they would do a half Immelman roll and go through the formation. And I swear, I sometimes I could almost I could see their faces. They were kids just like we were, you know.
So I think when I first met you, you told me that you chose not to wear a flak jacket.
Yep. Well, most of the guys wore a flak jacket when we hit the bomb run. Well, I had this thing open, the back hatch, and I'm thinking may have been 20 years old at that time, and I'm thinking, man, if I hit an air pocket, I'm going right out that hatch. So I put on a parachute instead of the flak suit. I said, if I fall out that thing, the heck with the camera, I'm going to pull the chute. So, but what I did is I put the flak suit full extent underneath my body. I was protecting my family jewels. Just to work because I got 8 kids, so and I took pictures. That's how I did.
Were the flak jackets themselves effective?
Well, yeah. Well, you know, it all depends how the flak hit us, how close you were, and sometimes it would penetrate, but it did. Sometimes it was like, for instance, on one mission, the tail gunner, as we got through the frame, we were approaching the target, and the Messerschmitts were shooting at us, and my tail gunner, a piece of flak, also was, you know, responsible at times, but the flak, the flak suit really helped more for flak. You know, the fragments from the 88 millimeter cannons were blowing all over. You'd find holes in the fuselage and things like that, and holes from the German fighters, but he yelled all over the intercom, I've been hit. And Harry Oker, who was my pilot at that time, said, John, go back and check to see, check on the tail, see what's wrong, how bad he is. So I put on a oxygen tank, attached it to the mask, and I went back, and he said, Vern, where you hit? He says, in my back, I can just feel the blood going down my back. So I quickly slipped off my glove, because, you know, it was 50 below zero, and I put my hand on his back, pulled it out and looked. It wasn't blood. He was sweating fear. It was water, man. That's what it was. I says, Harriet, he's okay. He got hit by a piece of flak, but it didn't penetrate.
Good. On your first mission, you said there were 25 planes going out, and the colonel said that 5 of them would not come back. Yeah. How many of those planes?
We did a little better than what the guy said. I think we lost only 10 on that one. Oh. Yeah, they were fortunate, because they were. The thing about it, on one run, the B-17s, we would be down about 24,000, but the B-17s, because of their wingspan, could get up as high as 31,000. And since they were higher, the Germans figured if they knocked out, they were concentrating a lot on the B-17s, who were accompanying us, and figured if we knock them down, they'll fall down on the B-24s, 2 for the price of 1. Well, so they got most of the flak.
So the 88s could actually get up to 31,000 feet. The Germans' anti-aircraft guns, they're 88s.
I really don't know how high they got up there, but I know they got that 24,000 feet, I'll tell you that. But after that, I really didn't know, and I didn't care.
Did you always fly with the same crew, or did they rotate?
Oh, I flew with the beginning crews. My first crew, I flew and trained in Riverside, California, Marchfield. And the last day of my training, I had to take an exam. And a kid from Ravenna, Ohio, took my place. When that plane left the ground, had to be 10 guys on that airplane. and he took my place. And I had this exam. About midnight, I went to operations and I said, "Where's my crew?" And they crashed in the mountains. They all got killed. And I had to, because that kid took my place, the Army gave me a unlimited furlough. I accompanied the casket. They told me, stay with the family as long as you felt I needed you, then come back. I accompanied the casket on the train from California to Chicago, Chicago to Cleveland. Cleveland, I met the mortician. We went to the funeral home, met the parents, and I was going to stay at a motel. And said, "Oh, no, you stay with us." And I slept in his bed. Of course, I didn't tell him that he took my place. And I stayed with them for about a week. I said, "Well, you guys look okay. I got to get back to the war or they come looking for me." So that's it. I went back to the service. Then I got assigned to Harry Oker's plane. They called us Oker's Jokers. And I flew most of my missions with him. Then after we, in the Battle of the Bulge, we got shot down. And then I spent a couple with Sweet and Lowdown. That was the crew. My last 3 missions. 10.
There was something more, though. You got shot down in the Battle of the Bulge, but where did you land?
Well, in the Battle of the Bulge, we lost our 1 and 2 engines, but we got hit by 80-millimeter cannon fragments, and we knew we couldn't make it back to England, but we knew that Holland was in the hands of the British. So we headed for Holland. And we looked for an area where we felt we could be safe to belly land. When you're going to crash land, you don't land on your wheels. You come in on your belly with your nose up high. And just hope that you found an area that you was skid to it and hope you stop before you hit a tree or a building, whatever was going to be in the way. And as we were getting out of the plane, we first thing our job was we had to destroy the Norton bomb site because that was a secret weapon. We destroyed that. And then we took I took my parachute with me because we knew that you couldn't take any money. All you had was dog tags. But we knew that some stories we heard that you could sell the parachute silk underground, and you could get money. So we took the trip, and as we were getting out of the plane, we saw these trucks heading for us, and we heard these guttural voices. Oh my God, don't tell me the Germans regained Holland. And the universal sign in all the armies in the world, put your hands up, we surrender. Well, it turned out to be liberated underground and liberated troops from the Holland people. and they took us into this village, and we were there, spent the time in a schoolhouse where the British had established some headquarters. And then from there, Amsterdam and Antwerp, they were going to pick us up at Antwerp, but Hitler was dropping V-2 bombs on Antwerp, so they were going to land no planes there. And we went to Brussels, Belgium, and there sold a parachute, got some money, and we were going to buy a souvenir. And the pilot went into this, and I went in there, and we didn't like anything, and we were just about, we were ready to leave, and the woman says, wait a minute. I go, take pieces, I need pieces. And the pilot said, what'd she say? I said, I think she said that she's going to take a piss. I said, boy, these people are really forward. I'm only 20 years old at that time, and my face was red, and that may have been 21 then. But anyhow, she comes back with the famous statue of peace. And that statue, the story behind it was this rich man, his son somehow or the other got lost in a forest. And he said, whatever way they find my son, I will make a statue in the middle of Brussels. And if you go in the middle of Brussels, there's a statue of a little boy holding his own, urinating right out. That's the way he found the boys, and that's the way he made the statue.
You had mentioned that you, for the most part, flew with one group of individuals, but I believe that you periodically had a different pilot that would take over the plane, and in one case, at least, you flew with a famous individual.
Yes, well, the most notable one was Jimmy Stewart. He was a command pilot, and if he was taking over the squadron, we were lead crew. Then Jimmy Stewart was sitting in the pilot's seat, and the pilot would go to the co-pilot's seat, and the co-pilot would become an observer. But yes, Jimmy Stewart was one heck of a guy. He was a full colonel at that time, and he never pulled rank or nothing. I really don't think he just, it didn't matter to him, but it was just, Army. But he if you got out of line and you were in his squadron flying, and you strayed a little bit, you would hear him come over and say, hey, you dummy back there, you want to get killed? Get back here in the formation. So you would hear that. And one time, we were heading to bomb a target, and we were in the lower. Another colonel was leading the entire 8th Air Force into the targets, and we were in the lower echelon, and suddenly Jimmy gets on the intercom, and he says, hey, heading in the wrong direction. And the colonel leading the thing said, "Hey, back there, just shut your mouth. I know where we're going. Just follow me." And Jimmy Stewart said, "No." I said, "No, you don't know. And our group hit the target, and the other guy, he got killed. He was hit the wrong target." So I remember that story. Yeah.
There was a lot of controversy in England, I think, on the Allies and the United States and Britain, about bombing cities and civilians. I know Dresden was terribly hit, and Cologne and Hamburg. Were you involved, sir, in any of those missions?
Oh my God, Cologne. That's what anything was. But you know, we were told targets. We were really trying to hit either Hitler's headquarters or industry. We weren't trying to kill people. Really, that wasn't our intention, civilians. But see, now the funny thing about it, that Catholic church there never got hit. And it's still standing. Now they tell me it's still standing. But a story about that, back in Middleburg Heights, there's a German girl who was just growing up, and I told her, I said, and she says, "Yeah, we lived about 20 kilometers from Cologne." I said, "Yeah," I says, like a dummy, I said, "Yeah, I found that place pretty good." And she said, "I know." She says, "My grandmother never forgave you." I said, "What do you mean forgave us?" She says, "Hitler started it, and we finished it." She says, "No, you don't understand. We lived about 20 miles outside of Cologne. And one day, a bomber came over and dropped his bomb. And the bomb fell on our chicken coop and killed all our chickens." And smart asked me, I said, "Yeah, I bet you had chicken soup for a month." And I says, "But let me explain something to you, Monica. Those bombs cost about thousands of dollars to make." I says, "And we wouldn't waste it on the chicken coop. But what happened was, over the bomb mission, one of them would hang. And I had to get out and walk on the catwalk and release it manually. And what happened, we wouldn't drop it on the city. We would wait till we got over an isolated area. And thinking, well, okay, we'll drop the bomb. Unfortunately, it landed right on her. It might not have been my bomb, but somebody's landed right on. I said, "Heck, if we had to hit it, we probably wouldn't have hit it." But it was just an accident, that's all.
So how many total missions did you fly?
30.
30. To what do you attribute the fact that, I mean, you beat the odds. I think the odds were 1 out of 4 people, 1 out of 4 planes would not return. But yet you flew 30 missions.
Yes.
And returned in all, well, except that one that crash landed.
Yeah. Well, hey, it was, you know, you had no selection. When your turn to go, you went. You know what I mean? And grace of God, I guess, wasn't my turn to go, or any of us. And as I say, we had casualties on the plane, lost a radio gunner, and got killed, and lost a right-hand side gunner, he got shot, died in the hospital. And we well, nothing gory. That's one thing about it. We were a very fortunate crew.
What was your attitude, maybe then and now, towards the German people themselves? Not so much the soldiers, but the German people.
Do I have any?
Now, back when you were flying,
Yeah.
what was your attitude about towards the German people?
Oh, you couldn't say nothing, you know, because you just, as we flew toward our targets, you couldn't get on the intercom or nothing, because then they could locate you how high you were.
No, but what I'm referring to is that for the men and the women who were not soldiers and the kids, did you have any hatred towards those or any?
No, you know, it's we felt really. I think the American. It wasn't like the year in the Pacific area where the Japs were not humanistic at all. They were more like animals. They didn't treat people. We respected them, the soldiers, and they respected us. For the matter of fact, on one flight, we got hit and we were coming back, and of course we had lost the engine, and we couldn't keep going back. We couldn't keep up with the rest of them, and as we were heading toward just about a German Messerschmitt was coming right toward us. Oh man, we were getting ready, and he wavered his wings, which was sign that he wasn't going to shoot us. I mean, he didn't want to get shot, and he almost was like an escort toward our. He went so far with us, then he flew back.
I've actually seen a documentary on this.
So
I've seen a documentary on television, on YouTube, about this.
I mean, there was a lot of that went on. We respected each other. We were all doing our jobs, and a lot of them didn't like Hitler. They didn't like Himmler or anything, but they had to survive. So it was either them or us.
After you were discharged from the military, and did you have a difficult time getting back and adjusted into?
Well, I was very fortunate. During the in-between missions, we had a choice. A lot of guys got involved sexually. I was always afraid of the good Lord. I always obeyed the. I wasn't a womanizer, but if I wasn't playing cards, I would be in the gym working out, and I developed a 50-inch chest and 32-inch waist, and I think it saved my life, because after my discharge, I went to Santa Monica in California for reassignment. And he said, well, it looks like you're going to be flying B-29s. And I'm thinking, man, B-29s, that's the Pacific Ocean, and the Japs. I said, man, they already had 30 chances to kill me. I says, is there anything else? And he said, hey, you got a pretty good build. Did you ever play football? I said, yes, I did. He said, why? He says, the Personnel Distribution Command in Greensboro, North Carolina, are forming a football team. And man, I threw my chest at 50 inches out at him, and I says, Lieutenant, you found a star, and here I am. and I was assigned to play football in Greensboro with the team that was being formed. Ted Shipke was going to be the coach, yeah. And we got assigned, and we where they had the Greensboro Open, that's where we stayed. Right there, and that was, was a resort area. And I remember one time I'm going through the lobby, and this lady stopped me. She says, do you play football with those monsters? I says, yes, ma'am, I do. She says, aren't you afraid they're going to hurt you? I says, no, ma'am. I says, when I hear them coming, I run faster. Yeah, I remember it. But it was, I stayed in there, and we scrimmaged against West Point, and we beat the heck out of those kids. I was the only kid in high school. The rest of our guys were all Americans from different colleges. Kenny Cavanaugh of the Bears, he was one of the guys. And it was quite a thing. But I had accumulated 98 points. And you only needed 88 to get discharged. And but I was playing football, and I enjoyed it. And Carl Snavely, he was the coach over at the University of North Carolina, came over there and offered Mike Ridley and myself a scholarship to come over to play football. Why not? So I left. That's when I left the Army and got an honorable discharge, and I went to the University of North Carolina. I was on the football team for about three months. That was during, and I says, Coach, I'm homesick. I want to go home. I said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to quit. And he said, John, I appreciate what, and he said, you do what you feel you got to do. And that's when I went home.
I have one last question for you before we wrap it up. Have you ever been back to Germany to visit any of the cities over which you bombed?
Never intended to go back to Europe, period. And if I ever went back, it would be going back to Sicily. That's where my folks were from. And but I over there in England, they would say the English were nice people, but they were not as warm as the Americans. As a matter of fact, even the British soldiers, I'd go to Covent Gardens in London to dance. I love to dance. And the British soldiers, you Yanks, you're overrated, you're oversexed, you're overpaid. Yeah, and you English, you're underpaid, you're undersexed, and you're under Eisenhower. And that would shut them up. Oh, God. Well, but fish and chips. Fish and chips, dirty piece of newspaper with fish and chips on it. That was a delicacy over there. But that was it. There was no animosity.
Well, in closing, I'm wondering, do you have any thoughts or messages that you'd want to pass on to the younger generations? There's a lot of younger kids, even younger adults, who really don't appreciate the significance of World War II and the sacrifice that men such as yourself made.
Well, I think that one of the best things I think I could do is, as it was stated, when I took the honor flight to Washington, they gave me a banner with my name on it and a thing, and it said on this thing, if you can read this, thank a teacher. And if you can read it in English, thank a veteran. I think that pretty well tells the story. They say that my generation, we were salvation of the world. Well, they call me a hero. And I would tell people, no, I was just a patriotic kid, loved my country, did my share, and the heroes were my buddies. That didn't come back. They were the heroes, the crosses. They gave their lives for their country. But I remember one thing. Jimmy Stewart told me once. He said, John, always be proud of the 389th Bomb Group. We did our part. And that's what we did. We did our part. And some of us were fortunate enough to come out alive. But always love your country. And I tell you, if you don't love your country, you're free to go any place you want to go. And I looked at that Saudi Arabia guy that killed those Navy guys. That guy looked mean. I don't know. Maybe we have to start looking who we're training and so forth, you know?
Okay. All right, sir, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor speaking with you, and I certainly wish you the very best.
Oh, by the way, did you see that thing about the Lucky Bastards Club?
You mentioned it, but if you're talking about...
I got a thing on the table there.
All right, I'll make sure I'll get a photograph of that.
And after you flew your 30th bomb mission, as you were coming in, hey guys, we made it. And as you go to headquarters to report about the mission, they would meet you at the door with a shot of booze and this certificate, and this certificate said the Lucky Bastards Club. And it said, you lucky bastards, you survived 30 missions delivering goodwill to Hitler, and you're still living. You are now a certified member of the 8th Air Force Lucky Bastards Club, signed by Elliot Roosevelt, the president's son. So that's one of our few memorabilia that I remember. And with that, that's what I am.